Valleycats home tonight, Staten Island. Hopefully weather clears up and we get ready to roll. Got a beautiful weekend coming up. I know that. And everyone likes going out to the Joe. Who doesn't, right? Great family entertainment value and a great product on the field as well. Morgan Ensberg is the skipper, the manager of the Valleycats, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports as Staten Island rolls into town. Good morning, Morgan. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, man. How was the golf yesterday?
Golf was great.
Yeah, did you play
awesome.
well?
I played better. Yeah, I played better. You know what? We only played 9 holes this time. We were just trying to, kind of get on and get off. But it was beautiful. It was a great time out there.
Yeah, we played at Colony Golf and Country Club. I am so due to play a round of golf just outside of a charity event. So one of these days we'll get out.
Morgan can hook you up with his people over at Colony Golf and Country Club.
He can, yeah.
There's the irony.
All right, it was a day off, Morgan, and you return to the Joe, start of a 6-game homestand. Take the temperature right now of your team and where you're at.
Well, I mean, we're really improving, and the players are getting better, and they're doing a lot of hard work, and a lot of the stuff that was happening earlier on in the season, you're not seeing as many of the mental mistakes, and that's really what we're trying to concentrate on kind of in this stretch. But players are working on their swings. The pitchers are working on more effective pitches in the zone, and as a result, we had a nice these last 6 games. We had a nice stretch right there, and the guys are playing much better. So we're cautiously optimistic that they're making those changes.
Is this as much confidence as your team has had since the beginning?
I think so. I think that the first kind of month or the first few weeks is really a shock to a lot of the players. And, you think that you're going from college baseball into the same brand of baseball at pro ball, and you're just not. They get hit with just a bunch of cold water, and it's a real shock that the caliber of play is that much more difficult. And then you're using the wood bats, and then you're playing every day. And it's really the mental hurdles that make this thing difficult. So I'm really happy with how the team's playing right now, and it's fun to go to the ballpark and work, but we know that it's going to be choppy, this whole season.
Morgan, look, I've never read an NFL defense as a quarterback. I've never tried to guard LeBron James, but I've always thought hitting a baseball at the major league level has got to be the most difficult thing to do in all of sports. We just saw the Braves are going to drop Dansby Swanson down to AAA to try to get his swing right. He was like the unanimous NL Rookie of the Year before the beginning of the season because of his, time with the Braves last year as a late call-up. How difficult is it really? I mean, you can give us good perspective on just how difficult it is to graduate from college or even high school to pro ball, where a lot of these guys, maybe like you said, a month in are now starting to figure out some things.
Yeah, there's a couple jumps. I mean, in my opinion, I mean that the jump from amateur to pro ball, amateur baseball to pro ball is a nice little jump, and that's because you're getting familiar, like you said, with the wood bats, and then more importantly, you're getting familiar with playing every single day. Amateur baseball plays 4 days a week usually, out of college. And here you're playing every single day where the stats count, everything counts, and that's a lot of mental pressure. The next big jump, at each level you do make a nice little step up. It gets a little bit more difficult. But the difference between AAA and the big leagues is a massive cavern. I mean, it's huge. And that's because the speed of the game is so much greater in the big leagues than it is in the minor leagues. You just can't, replicate it. And guys are faster, guys are more consistent in the zone, they're just better. And then the other part that's really, I think, really a difficult thing to deal with is the fans and the media. I mean, that's the part where it's very difficult. You don't have that in AAA or in the minor leagues. But you have the constant attention, you've got cameras in your face, you have to take accountability, you have to be able to, just look the camera, right in the face there and say that you blew it. And there's a lot of pressure to win. I mean, more pressure than they would have felt at all, let's say, in the 3 years that they're in the minor leagues. So there's a lot of things that have to do with baseball, but there are some things that are off the field, dealing with media and fans that does make it very difficult.
Time with Morgan Ensberg, Valleycats manager, and I got to ask you about Tim Tebow because there were so many doubters about Tebow and whether or not he could really do this, and we just talked about how hard it is, right? I mean, facing Major League Baseball pitching and all of that. Could Tebow really pull this off? And I said for a long time, there's no way. There is just no way. But you know what, Morgan, this guy's incredible. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right now, 28 games, 92 at bats in high level A ball, and he's hitting 315, OPS of 922. He's got a bunch of home runs, 16 RBIs. Are you at all surprised with the job that Tim Tebow is doing as he tries to make it in Major League Baseball?
No doubt about it. I mean, absolutely no doubt about it. It's a great story, and he's obviously a great guy, and he works hard, and he gets a tremendous amount of attention, which, you know, makes it that much more difficult to play. But, you know, this is a good story. You know, again, baseball will, you know, the minor league process will figure out if you can play in the big leagues or not. So, I mean, it's a fun story right now, and we'll see where this thing goes. I mean, I definitely am surprised that he's doing this well.
Morgan, we were at the Hall of Fame yesterday, and I made it a big deal that I hadn't been there in a few years, hadn't seen the Tom Glavine plaque, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, who I grew up watching. When you were a kid watching baseball, who was your guy? Is he in the Hall of Fame, and have you made it a point to check out the plaque?
You know what? It's interesting. Like the guy that I really liked was Darryl Strawberry. Like, this is, you know, back in like 86, 87, you know, when you're talking about that type of thing, that just happened to be when I was really collecting baseball cards, and I was in Little League and stuff like that. So, you know, he wasn't in the Hall of Fame. I did keep track of, you know, obviously Dodgers guys because I grew up in LA and so forth, but it wasn't as though there was just this one player that I was really just amazed with. I mean, Jose Canseco, when I was in, you know, 8th and 9th or 7th and 8th grade, was pretty incredible because he was going after 40-40. You know, that was kind of an incredible time, but he wasn't necessarily my favorite player. It just, I enjoyed baseball, but you know what? It's funny. I have a little bit of a different story. I enjoyed soccer. I enjoyed basketball. I enjoyed baseball. And for me, watching it on TV wasn't something that I did, you know, a ton. I was a big Lakers fan, you know, because Lakers were incredible. We were battling against the Celtics during that time, and I was a big basketball guy like that. But no, I mean, I enjoyed baseball. I loved going to Dodger Stadium. I loved going to the games, but I didn't really have like that one guy like you're kind of referring to.
Hey, Morgan, you bring up these other sports. It sounds to me like you would be a proponent of the young kids. We got a lot of moms and dads listening to our show right now, of young kids playing multiple sports.
I really am. I just think that there's so many benefits of playing the different sports, and I realize that there's so much concentration in one sport right now because parents are trying to do the right thing. They're looking at their kids, and they're trying to size them up and see where they have the best chance to play, and the likelihood of their kid being, you know, a 6'10" point guard is probably pretty low, you know, playing some of the different other sports. But I think where things get kind of messed up here a little bit is that you learn something, and there are different body movements with those other sports. You know, my path, you know, growing up in Southern California was my favorite sport to play for a long time up until I was 12. So basically age 5 to 12 was soccer, you know, where you're moving your feet, you're running, you know, the agility there. And then it moved to basketball where you're a little bit more spread out, but you're still moving quickly with your feet. You're running around, and there's different movements there, and there's quickness. And then finally it moved to baseball. I mean, I always loved baseball, but my favorite sport was soccer, and then it was basketball, and then it was baseball. And I'm convinced that I got to the big leagues because of soccer and basketball.
Well, I know one thing. We are now done. More our All-Star team got beat last night 8-7.
Bummer.
Yeah, it was a great Little League All-Star game.
Coaching.
Yeah, but blame it on the coaching. There's no doubt about it. You know, didn't make the right managerial moves last night. But these kids have been going at it, man, since January because they're hitting indoors in January. So you're talking January till the end of July. You play rec baseball, play travel baseball, and then the All-Star's been 5 weeks of nothing but practice and playing. So that's a good long run, and now it's time to take a break.
Yeah, it's pool time. I mean, it's pool time. It's watermelon time. It's time to just kind of hang out and enjoy your summer before school, you know, comes back. And we were big with growing up there. You know, we were big at going to the beach. We'd be going surfing and bodyboarding and just hanging out and kind of getting a break before school starts. So that's awesome. But congratulations for going that far. That's really something.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Morgan. Thank you. And you know what it is? It's Valleycats time. It's time for these kids now that they're not playing and practicing every single day, that they can go out and watch the Cats now the rest of the season. We'll get out to some games here. And you've got a great opportunity here, Morgan. Look at Staten Island, best record in the New York Penn League, and then Vermont comes in, and they're in first place in the Southern Division.
Yeah, so this Staten Island team, this Yankee team, is really good. I mean, they've got a lot of guys that have been playing together for a while. It's a very professional baseball team, meaning like they don't have as many of the guys coming from college and so forth. And they got a couple guys. In fact, ironically, they've got a guy that we traded that was throwing 100. So they definitely have a solid team, and it's going to be a dogfight. And then, right, Vermont, who's leading our division, is also a very solid team. We've played them well. We took 2 or 3 from them this last road trip, so that was good, and things are looking up. But this is definitely going to be a tough week. But I'm excited just that we have 6 games here. You know, usually you have 3 games and you're gone, but it's nice to just kind of be able to stay in your own bed for a little bit.
Morgan Ensberg every week with us here on Big Board Sports and 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio.
Hey, Morgan, who's your greatest Laker of all time? Let's stir it up here a little bit.
Oh, this will be really controversial. It's Magic.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I loved. I mean, now when you talk about of all time, you can get in discussions, but I love Magic Johnson. You know, and also I loved Byron Scott because he was a shooting guard, and he's from Inglewood, and Inglewood is just, you know, 5 to 10 miles from where I grew up, and so I thought it was cool that there was a professional player that grew up kind of near me.
Well, see how much you're going to love Lonzo Ball. How about that?
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm not super pumped with the whole circus and the sideshow. You know, I'm not really pumped. I mean, apparently, you know, he's a great player, and I hope he is. But I mean, that overbearing dad and stuff it's just a circus, man, and it's so difficult to, like I said, to deal with the fans and the media, let alone the caliber of play. It kind of turns me off a little bit, to be honest with you. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I'm not a fan.
We're done with it.
We're definitely not a fan, and I'm not buying sneakers for, what is it, $450?
Yeah, $495.
$495. Yeah, that won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even look that good.
Right, exactly.
Really don't.
I'm with you there, man.
Really don't. Hey, Morgan, and have a great homestand. I hope to see you soon, and as always, we really appreciate you coming on with us here on Big Board Sports.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, Morgan.